Sidelines with Rob Brown. Talk sporty to me.
Here with you on this, Wednesday. Cannot believe the week flying by. Lots to talk about today. We'll be with you as we are every Monday through Saturday for the next 2 hours talking college football. That's what we do. That's what we love doing. We're a sports radio show and podcast. We stay strictly on sports. And David Schultz, WNSP down in Mobile, will be our leadoff guest here in just a moment. We'll go to the second segment. Yancy Porter will check in from Oxford, talking about Ole Miss. They get ready for game number 2 this weekend. Second hour, we'll head out to Austin. Anwar, Richardson, orangebloods.com, giving us an update. The Texas View as they get ready to host Alabama, coming in town for that 11 a.m. game on Fox Sports Saturday. And then Jill Klucher will be on with us. She is an Alabama graduate, alumnus, and is connected with, it sounds like, all the Alabama people in Austin. And she says there are a bunch of them, and they're getting ready to greet a lot of their friends and host them as they come in for this big matchup this weekend. We are broadcasting live from Red River Ford Toyota in Wynne, Arkansas, and we will be with you talking college football. Just want to say this too. If you're looking to do a trade-in, best values in years, 20-plus years, check them out, redriverfordtoyota.com. David Schultz, a lot of football to be played already. I guess we could have a contest. Which fan base is overreacting to the first weekend? And let me just say, is it possibly – I think LSU fans have got to calm down. Brian Kelly is a damn good coach, but what's your take on all this?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, don't give me that Monday through Thursday stuff. You took Monday off, all right? After the first weekend of college football, you decided, I'm taking Monday off. Also, you went with a very vanilla shirt today, not nearly as busy as last week. Yeah. All right? Please don't tell me you're taking fashion advice from me. I need to know that. Do not take fashion advice from me.
All right.
All right.
Yeah.
As far as LSU is concerned, I mean, the mistakes that they made, the key mistakes that they made, or the obvious ones, I should say, are fixable, right? You're not going. How many more punts are you going to drop like that, especially back to back, and blocking for an extra point? Those things are easily fixable. All right. What is not easily fixable is an offensive line who cannot block. Okay. What might not be quite as easily fixable is a coaching staff that, made their decision to have Jaden Daniels as their quarterback, but didn't game plan for the lack of offensive line, even though they made Jaden Daniels the quarterback because he can scramble and, get out of trouble because of said offensive line. He's doing 5- and 7-step drops when instead they needed to be what they were doing in the middle of the third quarter. They needed to be doing that in the middle of the first quarter. And they didn't recognize it in time. They suffered for it for that reason. I don't know what the LSU thing is going to be, right? We still don't really know. I don't know how good LSU is, or I'm sorry, Florida State is, right? Think what the dynamic would have been if somehow, say, Brian Kelly and LSU goes for 2 and wins.
Yeah.
Right. Then everybody in the world is hammering Mike Norvell for not kicking 1 field goal, but for not kicking 2 field goals. Right. Yes. So they would have been hammering Mike Norvell as LSU would have gotten away with one. I'm not sure how good LSU is. All right. I really don't. Right. I mean, they're missing one of their best players for the rest of the year, Mason Smith, because he jumped. That's really unfortunate. So I'm not sure how good they are. Here's the other thing that concerns me, Rob. And again, you're much more of a football savant than I am. Where were the linebackers for LSU? Right. They have some of the great linebackers all the time. And those linebackers were non-existent. The defensive line was doing their job. The secondary was doing their job. But, boy, those 8 to 10-yard passes were wide open. Linebackers were not making any tackles. I don't think a linebacker had a tackle until the last drive, the first fumbled muffed punt, and they stopped them when they went for a 4th and 2 on a fade. Good play call. That's when the linebackers made the first tackles of the game for LSU. How can you go, I guess it would be, 28 minutes without making a tackle, a linebacker? Come on. And that's not, I don't know a whole lot of football, but I know linebackers are supposed to lead the team in tackles, and LSU's linebackers struggled in the first half and for most of the ball game. So some of the things are fixable, some are not. I think it's going to be a long season for LSU. I agree with you that Brian Kelly can coach, and he will coach, but they have issues on that offensive line. They're starting, a couple of inexperienced guys at tackles, and, it showed.
Yeah, and you look at offensive line woes. There are a lot of teams that have that problem. We're just not producing the offensive linemen that we need. And eventually what will happen is everybody, not everybody, but majority of the teams will have rosters of subpar quality offensive linemen. As far as linebackers not getting a lot of tackles, they should always be the leading tackler on your team in today's world. Certainly not your safety. And LSU, I just think that you muff 2 punts. You have some special teams issues. You have a field goal blocked. Then you have that extra point blocked at the end. I would have gone for 2. I mean, LSU had all the momentum in the world at that time, but I think you just look at the same way Auburn fans reacted last year to Brian Harsin. Rumors were put out there to try to take him out. And those people that are responsible for putting out those salacious rumors, people know who they are, and they're scumbags. They're miserable people who are control freaks. They give to get. And people know who they are, but you cannot react like this.
Careful, Rob. Let's make sure we delineate between the two differences. In Auburn, right, the people who you were suggesting making those rumors out there, they were the ones who wanted Brent Venables. They were the ones who wanted Billy Napier, and they didn't want to come. So then Alan Green, who just resigned as Auburn AD, who was not getting an extension, he was the one who went and signed Brian Harsin. At the LSU thing, maybe there were some rumors about Billy Napier and others, but Scott Woodward went and got, Brian Kelly. As long as Scott Woodward is there, Brian Kelly is going nowhere anytime soon. And as I think we've mentioned, right, you can't confuse what they're doing recruiting-wise, because he's doing a really good job recruiting compared to what's going to be on the field. And we may get the same thing with A&M and others that are doing really good job recruiting either last year or this year, and it's not taken to the field just yet. So,
yeah. Oh, David, no, you're right. And I'm just saying, Alan Green went and hired Brian Harsin out of left field, and there were a lot of people that wanted different other, I'd say Brent Venables, Billy Napier, whoever. But and that's Auburn. What Auburn's got to do is they've got to get all their boosters, all their powerful boosters, all in the same little Zodiac boat, rowing and paddling in the same direction, with Auburn being first and foremost. All that matters is Auburn. And so with LSU, you're right. Scott Woodward, outstanding AD, came back from A&M. He's brought in Kim Mulkey, women's basketball coach. She's got 3 national championships. You watch how fast she turns LSU around. I just think
around last year.
Yeah, and she's a winner. I mean, she's successful in everything she does. But I'll tell you, Jimmy Hodges on
Kramer Robertson's mother. Did you know that?
She's who?
Kramer Robertson's mother.
Did not know that.
The LSU
I knew that.
Plays for a couple of different.
He was really
couple of different places. Yeah, she's Kramer Robertson. That's a joke because everybody knows that she's Kramer Robertson's mother.
Yeah. And she used to go to a lot of the home series in Baton Rouge too. They would score, behind the plate and all that. So, it's there's so many interesting dynamics in college athletics, but realistically though, is there ever a chance that all of the heavy hitters in the Auburn financial world are going to ever be paddling in the same direction?
No.
You know what the genius of Frank Broyles was at Arkansas? And I spent a lot of time in the natural state. He was able to get all the families, the Waltons, the Hunts, the Tysons, the Reynolds, the Stevens family. I mean, the Stevens family, I just don't think people outside of Arkansas really understand how much money they have. They don't have the population, about 2.8 million people over here. But if Arkansas gets a coach, and Sam Pittman, I think, is a really good coach, and he's got a lot of coaches that know how to recruit the Deep South. Arkansas, look, A&M, we love it when Olin Buchanan's on here from TexAgs.com. But this is year 5, people. Year 5 for Texas A&M. If they don't win a minimum 10 games, what do you do? I mean, they are locked in. They have their leverage. I mean, he's got the leverage. The lifetime contract last year, right at the beginning of the season, was renegotiated from 10 years, $75 million guaranteed. It's over $90 million now. Okay. I mean, Dave, you think about this. Arkansas, I think, after Alabama, is the biggest threat in the SEC West to them this year.
I mean, they do not have an easy schedule. App State is not necessarily going to be easy this weekend. They got Miami. They got Florida. They got, that is not an easy schedule. And again, let's not conflate. I mean, he's starting, not a true freshman, but geez, I mean, Haynes King in the first, quarter looked like he hadn't played football in 2 years, and he played very little football last year. So, I'll be the first to admit you got to give the kid a break. He made one throw that I didn't know where it was going to. So maybe he short-armed it because he saw at the last second the defender as he's following through. So if I put a lot of zip on this, it's actually going to get intercepted. So it fell 5 yards short, and where's he throwing it to? So we do need to slow down. We'll see how good A&M is. I mean, they pitched a shutout. You could see the difference between the athleticism between Sam Houston State and A&M. But that, App State is going to be pretty good, right? I mean, I know Alabama hammered Utah State, and they're like, well, it's just Utah State. It's not Utah. Utah State's not bad. They won 11 games last year, right? I mean, they just got shut out. They're pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Top 20, top 30, top 25-ish, top 30-ish team, and they got obliterated. So, we'll see about A&M. I'm with you, though. I'm not in the A&M bandwagon. Everybody else seems to be on that A&M bandwagon for, a long time now. And until I see it, I don't know. And, I mean, I'm not sure he's going to win 10 games this year because he's starting a really young quarterback. And I'm not sure how good Haynes King is just yet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we talk about it all the time. Everybody gets caught up in the $14 billion endowment Texas has and the $9 billion endowment A&M has. They have all that money. They have the facilities. They have the recruiting base in the state of Texas. Yet, again, and we're going to talk with Anwar Richardson in hour number 2 of orangebloods.com, and also with Jill Klucher, who's, wired in with the Bama Nation that's out in Texas. And I'm telling you, 11 of the last 12 years, Texas has lost 4 games or more. Marcel Darius, defensive lineman for Alabama, that hit on Colt McCoy, it was a legit hit, emasculated Texas football for the most part. They have not recovered from that. And you say they've got all the money is not it, because I just mentioned about Arkansas. They don't have the population. Now, they do have all the families pulling in the same direction. That was the genius of Frank Broyles. Texas A&M, man, you name it. They've got so many people giving money that if it isn't Arkansas, it may be Auburn or LSU. Don't count LSU out. Don't count Auburn out. Auburn doesn't have a quarterback yet. Might be Robbie Ashford, Dave.
Yep.
Long way to go. And then Jimmy, have you ever seen a quarter, or David, ever seen a fourth quarter? Appalachian State scored 40 points in a quarter.
They combined for 60 points and 500 yards in one quarter.
Is that a record?
I'm sure that it's got to be.
Appalachian State is a real program. It goes back to the Jerry Moore days, guys.
Iowa could play 4 games and not get 40 points and 500 yards.
Iowa, that's as bad as, remember years ago, I think it was Iowa and Penn State. It was 6-4 in 12 innings. I mean, that game the other day was 7-3 against South Dakota State. A field goal and 2 safeties.
2 safeties.
I mean, golly, Fielding Yost would be proud, Jimmy.
Yeah, and Appalachian State won at North Carolina last year. So the Heels knew they were going to have a battle, coming into Boone, but 40 points in a quarter and you still win? I mean, that is just asinine. You can't make that stuff up. And then, with Iowa, 7-3 against the Jackrabbits. Man, I'm telling you what. And the thing about it, Ferentz is like 25 years in now, And I mean, what I'm hearing is that some of the old guard, the more they complain about games like that, he kind of digs in his heels further, to say, hey, it's my way. His son is the offensive coordinator. And, by the end of the season, we're going to be much better than this. But man, oh man, performances like that, I don't know how much that helps you with getting elite skill position players to come into your program. But just overall, it was an unbelievable day. But golly, who on earth, though, could have predicted with Florida State being at the 1 yard line, just over a minute left in the game, just a quarterback sneak or a handoff, just a plunge up the middle, even if you don't make it, you have an extra point length field goal to go up 2 scores and to pitch it. I mean, you just, I mean, it just defies description. And then LSU goes 99 yards, and then the bizarre play at the end when we thought they had changed the rule about getting tackled with no timeouts with less than 3 seconds left at the end of the half or a game. And then, they set the ball down, and then, it's impossible to run a play, but they didn't go by it. They just made it an untimed down, gave them another chance, score the touchdown, and then you have the bizarre blocked extra point, which was 2 block kicks.
Jimmy, we got to take a break, but hold those thoughts. But I mean, hey, if the officials don't throw the flag, it never happened. That's how I look at it. I mean, nothing you can do about it. We're going to talk about it more of those sidelines after this quick break on a Wednesday. College football is on fire.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Brown. Talk sporty to me.
Jimmy, you did reference, yesterday. I mean, we talk about, and a lot of people love to talk about the Auburn win over Alabama in 2019. It doesn't matter. Who cares? I mean, Auburn still scored the field goal, whether the official didn't throw the flag. And I've just learned over the years, I think it's, you can call people out. I mean, the rule in 1974 was changed in the Auburn-Alabama game when Thomas Gossam was pushed out of bounds, came back in, made a catch for a touchdown. Right. And they changed that in the offseason to where, if you go out of bounds on your own, you're out. But if you're pushed out by the defender, you can come back in. But I think Nick Saban has changed more rules in college football. He didn't like the hurry up, no huddles. So he got some things changed and now he embraces it. And then people that criticize Steve Spurrier for scoring 70 points in a game, that's not his fault. What are you going to tell your second, third, fourth team players? Don't go out there and try. It's the other team's fault if they can't stop you.
I don't know where we got to that point.
No, I'm just saying. I'm not talking about officials and stuff.
No. But that's not that doesn't involve a flag. That's just procedural.
Yeah,
that's why they changed the rules so it wouldn't happen again.
But it did on Monday.
Yeah, and it did on Monday, and they didn't enforce it. They allowed it to be an untimed down again to give a team that had no timeouts left an opportunity to run a play, which they had lost really the chance to do because they used up all their timeouts, but they were given basically an untimed down. But anyway.
Hey guys, did you about that play? I had a former SEC official on. That play should never have been reviewed by the officials. You can't review a play when a player is ruled out of bounds. And that's what the player was ruled. It specifically says a player ruled out of bounds, you cannot review that play. The only time you can do it is if it's a touchdown or a safety. And that's not what they were reviewing. It should never have been reviewed.
They can review line to gain, though. And like, for example, I know I was pretty good buddies with the former supervisor of a Big Ten officials. And I was talking about, that famous Texas USC game where when Texas got the ball for their last possession that won the game, they had stopped USC on a 4th and inches. And I thought the spot was dangerously close. I didn't think USC even got close to making it. And they gave them a friendly spot. They didn't make it, but he did tell me that had they awarded USC a first down, they would have been able to run off the clock, that they could have replayed that. But so there are certain plays, and I think they're doing some stuff too, like in basketball, the last 2 minutes, if you have a play like that, they can review it. But this is such a crazy game. You just have things that nobody can ever predict. And a team going 99 yards after everybody in the stadium knew the game was over, and then they get an extra point block that would have sent the game into overtime. And a lot of people felt that, LSU should have gone for 2 because they were playing for house money.
Yeah.
This game should have been over. And I think Florida State was reeling to the point that they were just in a daze. And I think LSU would have scored, to be truthful, but we'll never know.
Yeah.
But again, though, how bizarre. When they blocked the field goal earlier in the game, LSU replaced that left tackle on their field goal protection team, and then the same thing happens with the replacement. It's just crazy.
Yeah, David. Let's move on past the LSU thing to your outlook for this game this weekend. You got Alabama going down to Texas, and that's a big game, kind of from a distance. But I think Alabama is a much better team.
I do too.
They got to play the game and all like that. But what are your takeaways?
Yeah, I was warned yesterday because I got a couple of guys that are more mature, like I am, in terms of their age, because they think Texas is still Texas, and Texas is not still Texas. It's got a great cachet, and I think it's great that they're playing on campus. Texas being a little cheap with the availability to tickets for the band and the visiting team, but I think Alabama's going to whoop them. I think Quinn Ewers is going from basically high school to, varsity against ULM, and he's got Turner on one side, Will Anderson on another. I think his head is going to spin. I'd be shocked if this is a 20-point ball game. This has got 45-10, 48-7 written all over it. I think Texas is going to get hammered. And even saw Steve Sarkisian say, we're not going to measure where we are based on this Alabama game because he knows what's coming.
Yeah, and I think what he's saying, I don't think he should have said that. He don't lower the expectations.
Right.
Junk in your head, junk out. Positive in, positive out. And if you want to be successful in life, you got to prepare your mind, your body, and your soul to be successful. You got to be receptive to winning. And I don't like that approach that he gave at all. But now another one, your take on Florida. Buddy Martin's on, and Franz Beard from GatorBetMedia.com with us a lot. Don't fall in love on the first date. Buddy said yesterday, what'd he say, Jimmy? Like, I'm in love. but the Swamp,
we're getting ready to plan the reception.
Yeah, that's right. So it was, wow, that the Swamp looked like it used to look. And I told him, I said, I think Gator fans, David, went from hoping they were going to win to knowing they were going to win. Would you agree?
Well, So a couple things. I feel very uncomfortable rooting for the Gators. That is not something that I enjoy. Okay. But since I covered Billy Napier and I like Billy Napier with Louisiana, I am rooting for Billy Napier and the Gators as much as I can. Again, I get the Willies doing it, but we are rooting for the Gators. But think about what we talked about. The reaction would have been 180 degrees difference between LSU and Florida State. I don't think the reaction would have been any different outside of the winning and losing if Utah scores a touchdown instead of throws interception. It would have been like, oh my God, Florida kept up with Utah, right? They almost beat Utah, maybe should have beaten Utah, right? Like, the defense was gassed. I thought Napier got away with one. The defensive line was gassed. They brought no pressure at all on that last drive. The quarterback was doing anything he wanted. And unfortunately for Utah, the tight end fell down and he throws an interception. Richardson is really good. We'll see, between him and KJ Jefferson, who's going to take the Cam Newton mantle, if you will. Both those guys look really good. Florida's got Kentucky coming in this week, and Napier could start 2-0, and all of a sudden he's going to be in line for that. All of a sudden they're going to go from Napier's 2-0, beat Utah to Kentucky, and we're going to go straight to can Florida beat Georgia. That's where we're going. That's what's going to happen. Nothing in between. It's going to go Florida's 2-0, and their next big game is going to be Georgia, which I'm sure they have many more in between.
Well, I like what Nick Saban said last week. He said, God, everybody calm down. I'm not word for word, but quit looking to November and the playoff. We got to play the season. And you see it with ESPN and all the media out there picking the Heisman Trophy people immediately.
Will Anderson.
Yeah, and it's not really who the best players are. It's who they want them to be. Right now, the Heisman Trophy is not what it used to be. It's the best player now on the best team is all it is. It's not the best player in college football.
Well, it's the best quarterback on the best team.
Yeah, that's all. That's all it is.
It's the best
until Will Anderson wins it this year
on the best team.
Yeah, and you know what, Jimmy and David, when Charles Woodson won it, that guy he had a 17-year career. He had a long career like Peyton did. He was a great player, but Peyton should have won it that year.
Yeah, but let me tell you, if Peyton Manning would have been playing for Michigan and Charles Woodson was playing for Tennessee, Peyton wins that thing by 1,000 votes.
He wins 2 of them.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Jim.
Yeah.
And David, look, I know you're from New York.
Right.
I remember go back 51 years ago, 1971, Ed Marinaro at Cornell. They tried to push him over Pat Sullivan at Auburn. They tried to push him. The Eastern establishment. I remember I met Buddy Davidson in 1981 in April, who just passed away, Auburn's former sports information director. He told me the stories about that, about having to deal with – back then you had to go on the road show to promote your Heisman Trophy candidate. Right, you had all that. But to me, look, was there any question Ernie Davis was the greatest player? Syracuse, they've had some great ones.
Well, the late great Dick Schaap gave up his Heisman vote because Jim Brown didn't win it, right? And don't even get me started on Jim Brown and Don McPherson. Don't even get me started on that one.
And Jim Brown.
Yeah. He said that after the 1956 Heisman Trophy voting, in which Paul Hornung won it playing quarterback on a 2-8 Notre Dame team, and Jim Brown finished 4th, I never voted for the Heisman Trophy again.
Yeah,
right.
David, that that's a brilliant, Jimmy. Dick Schaap was one of the best ever. David, we're about out of time. Tell people what are y'all talking about right now? Besides, there's nothing else besides college football to talk about. But
I got one complaint every day. Braves are in first place. Braves are tied for first. So somewhere along the way, that's probably going to come up. But we'll continue. I got football guests. I actually had a blues guitarist on yesterday. Ian Moore is coming to play here, and we'll preview the Rams today. And let me see. What am I looking at here? Oh, Bill Bender. We got Bill Bender from the Sporting News and Danny Davis, the beat writer for Texas, coming on. So we'll do that. And we'll talk South Alabama as well. They got off to a great start. A big win over Nichols, and they're going to Central Michigan this week.
Central Michigan is where Brian Kelly came from, Butch Jones, Mark D'Antonio. You talk about the cradle of coaches, used to be Miami of Ohio. Ask him about that.
And then Jim McElwain is the coach there now.
Old Yeller is what they call him in Florida. Yeah. Hey, David, tell people how they can keep up with you on Twitter too, because I don't know of many people that put out as much content. You put out good stuff.
Well, at Schultz Cast and at 105.5 WNSP, we try to put out content all the time. We Simone Eli, local anchor, sports anchor, actually talked to Kane Womack's wife, and she did a follow up with Kane Womack, and it made it very clear who the head coach is in the house. He made it very clear who's in charge when it comes to the household. So, and he's known her since they were in third grade together. So they've known each other a long time. So we'll get some good content out this week for sure.
All right. Look, thanks so much. Always love having you on here. This was very informative, and have a great rest of your week. We're going to be joined just a moment by Yancy Porter, Rebel Yell Hotline down in Oxford, talking some Ole Miss. Hey, Jackson Dart, Luke Altmaier. I think this week they're going to start Luke Altmaier at quarterback. I think he's given each one of them an audition. They're playing University of Central Arkansas, so it should be a fun one to watch and see what happens there. But David, again, thank you as always for being on Sidelines with us. We really appreciate you. Okay. All right, Jimmy, the thing about the Heisman Trophy, it now, I mean, Alabama, last couple of years, they've had the best team, basically. You get Devontae Smith, and then last year, Bryce Young. I don't know how you can say he's not the best player, but I think the Heisman Trophy in the past, it was more of the best player. But, after Paul Hornung won it on a 2-8 Notre Dame team over Johnny Majors at Tennessee, you didn't see a player on a team like that ever come close to winning the Heisman. And then I can't remember one, but it's an award that look, Franz Beard, Jimmy, is talking now about some new numbers on the SEC TV contract that likely will be larger than what the Big Ten just negotiated here in the last couple of weeks. I mean, that's big.
I could see it because, again, it's just the quality of the product. And when you've won 19 national championships in the last 50 years to the Big Ten's 2.5, I mean, and like I said, that one Ohio State over Miami, man, you'll never get me to believe that Ohio State won that one. But nonetheless, you don't have to be a mathematician to figure out that, these conferences are at different levels. I mean, you talk about right now, how many teams in the Big Ten on an annual basis have a legitimate chance to win the national championship? And it's one. That's it.
Yeah.
And then Ohio State, for the most part, has a field day. I mean, they might have 2 or 3 big games a year max.
Yeah.
And that's it, until the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. So, hey, I totally agree with you. And Yancy Porter is on with us right now. But, Jimmy, you're right. And you've got one team up there, whereas in the SEC, in some years you have, 3 or 4. This year you really have 2 right now. But the SEC should have the biggest TV deal. Yancy, I just talked about it before you came on. Last week, it was Jackson Dart, the transfer from Southern Cal, got the start for Ole Miss. This week, is it going to be Luke Altmaier? Am I correct? He's going to give each one of them a chance to start a game. It's University of Central Arkansas. They've got great tradition, but not at this level. Won, 3 national championships in 8 years under legendary coach Harold Horton. Had a 38-game win streak over there in Conway, but different circumstances right now. But first off, thanks for taking time to join us on this Wednesday morning. But also, let's talk some Ole Miss football. What was your positive, negative takeaways from game 1 against Troy?
Well, the positives is that they could run the football and stop the run, right? We had talked about that defensive line consistently over the summer. They held them to 60 yards rushing. I believe they had close to a little bit over 200 yards rushing at halftime. And then Lane wanted to experiment some and see if he could get Dart really involved in the passing game in the second half, and it just didn't work out. I believe PPF gave Dart a 64 as grading for the game, which was 114th out of 118 D1 quarterbacks that started this past Saturday. He completed one pass over 5 yards past the line of scrimmage in the air. They really went to an offense that we hadn't seen under Lane. Bunch of extended handoffs, bubble screens, quick hitters to the running backs, just trying to get any kind of rhythm going in that passing game. Matter of fact, Rob, I looked up the last time a Lane Kiffin offense had a starting quarterback that passed for under 160 yards was in 2014 with Blake Sims against Ole Miss when Alabama lost Ole Miss in that legendary game where Blake threw an interception to Senquez Golson. So there's a lot to work on.
Yeah. All right, we're going to do this. We're going to take a quick commercial break, Yancy. We'll be right back with you after this, talking more about Ole Miss. Yeah, you're talking about October 4th, 2014, maybe the greatest day in Mississippi college football history for y'all and the Bulldogs after this.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Brown. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Rob Brown back with Jimmy Hodge, Yancy Porter. Ole Miss, that was interesting. First time under 160 yards. In Central Arkansas is coming in. Lane Kiffin has allowed the media to be at a lot of practices, just like saying, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to decide between these two quarterbacks. You've had a chance to see both of them play. You're going to get a chance to see Luke Altmaier get the start Saturday against UCA. But who do you think is the best quarterback for Ole Miss to win the most games with, which is the best quarterback?
Honestly, I think right now it's Luke Altmaier. I've said that since the spring. I think he's the guy that helps Ole Miss win today. Who has the most upside for down the road? That is probably Jackson Dart. So that's Kiffin's dilemma. Does he play for this year, this game right now, or does he play for the future and down the road? So, and that's not to say that Luke can't have a high ceiling as well down the road, but I do see a little bit of flash in Dart. But I just don't think he's ready. He really struggles reading defenses and the accuracy on the long ball. I mean, it's been consistent now. I mean, Saturday was not a hiccup, so to speak. It's been a trend since he's been at Ole Miss.
You mentioned a few weeks ago that Lane Kiffin, that's Jackson Dart, is more in line with what he likes out of a quarterback, a gunslinger mentality, like Matt Corral. And I hope Matt heals up, man. He's one of my favorite players. I thought he's one of the toughest players I've ever seen, and should have been up in New York for the Heisman vote, just to be there, because he was certainly one of the top 5-6 players in the country last year. Zach Evans, man, 147 yards rushing on 15 or 20 carries. This guy, is he as good as Parrish, Ely, Connor, that good or better?
I tell you what, I thought Quinshon Judkins, the true freshman, stole the show. Now, he only had about 87 yards rushing on about half the attempts that Zach Evans had. But this guy, Rob, he is a typical Alabama back. I mean, a big thumper, runs over you. He's going to be special. He's got a chance to be really, really special. Go down as one of Ole Miss's all-time greats running back, in my opinion. Now, Zach Evans and Quinshon are totally different. Zach likes to pop it on the outside, where Quinshon is more north-south tackle and likes to run it between the tackles. And let me say one thing about the quarterback before we go back to running back. this offense will be built around those 3 running backs. And we didn't even talk about Bentley. He only had 2 carries, 1 for a touchdown in the game. That is the strength of this team. But a lot of things that I'm saying about Jackson Dart right now are the same things that I said, or we said, the media, about Matt Corral, his first 2 years, right? He has a lot of flash. He's got speed. He's got a great arm. He just couldn't read defenses. So this is not to say that Dart cannot get into that upper level playing quarterback. He just is not there yet because of his lack of ability to read the defenses. But yes, Rob, this offense will rely on those Ole Miss running backs. Very weird to say. We kind of told you this earlier this summer, that this is going to be a Lane Kiffin play defense, run the ball, right? And this is kind of playing out exactly like we thought it would.
Well, Lane Kiffin doesn't get enough credit for what he knows about defense. Got a father like Monty Kiffin. He knows a lot about it. That's why he's so successful with offense. He knows and understands the best ways to attack an opposing defense. And I think you mentioned 14 defensive linemen that you think are SEC caliber. And that is so hard to, put together a roster like that. And if you're able to run the ball effectively and you've got a smothering defensive line, front 7, it makes the linebackers' jobs easier in relative terms. And the secondary, they can look like all-stars, because if a guy doesn't have much time to stand in the pocket and look for his reads, they're going to cover him like blankets. I think if this team develops like we're talking about with the running game, and Jackson Dart is able to come along and not be forced when he's not ready to do things, Ole Miss could be really hot as the season goes on. But you got to win now. I get that.
Yeah, there's 2 things I'm looking for in this game, and maybe not in this game, in the Georgia Tech game, because let's be honest, and this weekend is a glorified scrimmage again. So, 2 things I am going to start looking for is, one, Ole Miss did not get the pressure from their defensive line on the quarterback in the first half that I expected them to. In the second half, they got 8 quarterback pressures, 4 sacks. Troy was down 28-3. It put them in obvious passing downs. They got a little more pressure, but they didn't get as much pressure that I thought they would out of that defensive line. And 2, the offensive line pro pass block set was awful. Let's be honest about it. That's another reason that Dart was not in rhythm, is because Troy was getting a lot of pressure on him, and we saw Ole Miss's defensive line eat that Ole Miss offensive line up all spring and summer. And so that is something that you're going to really have to keep an eye on. They're very good at run blocking, but pass blocking is another story.
And that's why you'll see them lean on the run, I think, early. Jimmy, I know you got some questions for Yancy Porter. We're doing the rapid fire roundtable. Let's go.
Well, I think you've got to, conclude that Kiffin's going to use the same offensive approach on Saturday with Altmaier, because, as you mentioned, offensively, Ole Miss was pretty much vanilla. Wanted to get the running game going, but at the same time, when you have a quarterback like Dart, who hasn't played in a game situation in a while, and certainly in a new environment, he did look really unsteady. He looked unsure of himself, and in this league, you're not going to be successful if you're not able to get past that issue. And on top of that, if you can't read defenses in the SEC of all leagues, you're going to have problems, because those defensive coordinators are getting paid a lot of money to consistently change those alignments with different players in different spots, literally on every play. And it's easy for a quarterback to get confused. So I'm very interested to see how Dart develops. As with Altmaier, I think he's been the opposite whenever I've seen him in a real game, and also in the spring game. He looks very composed, very confident. He knows the system. And I'm curious if those factors, and I'm curious what you think about it, if that reality will maybe allow Kiffin to open up the offense a little bit with Altmaier in there, where he has a chance to really show, his all-around skill set. And if he does look really good, maybe he gets the start against Georgia Tech.
Yeah, there's been a lot of fans that say, how can you compare Troy against Central Arkansas, right? You put Dart against Central Arkansas, you put Altmaier against Troy, and they probably look both different because the quality of competition definitely goes down a notch when you're playing Central Arkansas. So that is a valid point. But I think what really Lane's going to be looking on is the flow, right? How accurate it is, the reads, the pre-snap reads, just the flow of the game offensively. I didn't think it was there in the first game. I think that's what he's really going to be looking for. Again, I think Luke Altmaier gives Ole Miss the best chance to win today. We'll see how he plays Saturday. In my opinion, really the only scrimmage Luke didn't play, up to his potential, so to speak, was that first scrimmage where the public was allowed to attend. So, and that's when Dart had his big scrimmage. So a lot of the fans are for Jackson Dart to get that starting role because of what they saw in that one scrimmage. But, just at the big picture, I still think Luke Altmaier gives them the best chance to win today.
What are you most concerned about with Ole Miss on the defense, besides the defensive line? Linebackers, we all know if your defensive linemen are locking up the offensive linemen, the linebackers just plug the gaps. But if your defensive line isn't any good, running backs are coming in there with a full head of steam, hitting your linebackers, and they're not going to be able to take it very long. But I just see with Ole Miss, everything flipping, going from offense last year was off the charts good. 49 times they went forward on fourth down. You see them being that aggressive, if that's possible with their defense?
No, I don't see them being that aggressive for the simple fact that he had Matt Corral to do that, right?
Yeah.
With the two quarterbacks they have now. Now, if Dart or Luke, if they develop a little bit more, they can, maybe start being that aggressive again offensively on fourth downs. But defensively, what I'm worried about the most is the true pass rusher, right? Who can get in there, cause havoc like Sam Williams did last year. Cedric Johnson and Tavius, they didn't get that done like I thought they would in this first game. I'm going to see what they could do in the second game.
Well, I don't know if it's the fact that we both think alike on so many of these things, but you've got the same bricks in the background that we do.
Well, if you change your virtual background, I wanted to kind of match up with you, Rob.
Look, I'm telling you right now, anytime you want to come on with a background with a beacon or, chicken on a stick or Proud Larry's or something like that.
That's not going to happen on TV view.
Okay. But I'm telling you right now, I think, and I had a lot of my friends that were going down to the Ole Miss game. They went Saturday. They go to every game. And looks like we're going to do sidelines right there on the edge of the Grove at some friends of mine's tailgate for the Auburn Ole Miss game. What an atmosphere. Let me ask you now, of these guys that you're bringing in, I'm curious if you can make a, discerning difference between the players that came in out of high school. Some of them went through spring practice and all, and guys that came in via the portal. I mean, is there a noticeable difference? Obviously, the ones that have been in college have experience already, but I'm curious if there's anything really that stands out about the two, because about half the class that Kiffin signs is high school. The other half is portal guys, and he had the best class in the country in the portal.
Yeah, obviously, Rob. I think the player of the game on all four facets, I believe Kiffin said, or maybe it was four players were portal guys for this past game that were player of the game under their own. So, portals they're physically more mature, they're more experienced. But then you got guys like Agabosin, that cornerback that started as a true freshman. Mm-hmm. You got Quinshawn Judkins there at running back. That is an absolutely man-child that I predict will go down as one of the all-time Ole Miss great running backs, barring injury. So you've got some freshmen that can come in there and make that impact, but it's sure percentage. They're not going to, if you're going on sure percentages, obviously the portals will give you more bang for the buck for the immediate starter.
Yeah, and I just think that right now, Mac Brown's quote, 4,000 guys in the portal that still hadn't been picked up. Those numbers, again, I think we're going to see a paradigm shift, decrease in the number of guys going in the portal.
Yeah, I mean, everybody can't come out of high school. I mean, you can't just sign all portal guys. You got to have some high school guys to even become portal guys, right? So I mean, it's not going to just go strictly to portal guys. There's still going to be a role for the high school guys. What's really the guys that are getting squeezed right now, I think, are the junior college guys and the guys from colleges that go in the portal and then never find a home.
Yeah, and that's the problem, because all these coaches, they all talk. And it's kind of like, remember the old deal, Jimmy and Yancy? Why is this kid in junior college? Typically because they got problems. Academics, a lot of things. Okay? So that's what the portal is. And the old days are the I think the right days. Stick it out where you are and just grind it out. I mean, look at Kyle Trask at Florida. Look what he did. And he was a second-round draft pick. He's one of the best Gator quarterbacks we've seen, but he played behind Derek King. He did back in Moundville, Texas. He hadn't started a game since his freshman year in high school because he was behind Derek King. And look who's in the NFL. I think, too, Yancy and Jimmy, LSU's players that are upset about criticism, if you take money from the NIL, you're going to be treated like a professional athlete. I'm not saying that fans in the SEC are going to be like fans in Philadelphia. They booed Santa Claus. But get ready for it, guys. That's my take, Jimmy and Yancy. I don't boo players myself, but there are going to be a lot of fans that look at what these guys are getting paid. And if they throw a temper tantrum because things don't go their way, that's not going to work.
Well, those guys were getting scrutinized in that manner anyway before NIL,
of course,
became part of the equation. I mean, playing in the SEC, there's tremendous pressure. I mean, you've had 6 different teams that have won the national championship since the BCS system was implemented in '98. And once you win one, especially those alumni groups and those big money boosters, they don't see any reason why you can't win it again.
There's no pressure, Jimmy. Come on.
The way of the world. Yeah. And then just add Texas and Oklahoma to the mixture in a couple of years, or maybe even next year, who knows? But it's just reality with all the exposure that the sport gets now. So many games are on TV every single week. Every Power 5 school has multiple websites that covers that particular program. So the people that want to know just about everything you can know about their program, the resources are there, and you're able to do that. And as a result, you get a lot of negative feedback when very demanding fan bases don't think that you're performing at the level you should be.
Yeah. I mean, Yancy, look, we got about a minute before the break, and then we're going to come back with you for a couple more minutes. But I think Jimmy's right. The players down here, you're right. They've always been under scrutiny. Now, when you got a guy like Keyshawn Butte, you're going to take away everything that references LSU off of his Twitter account. And you have to worry as a coach. Well, you don't have to, but it's in the back of their mind. You push a kid real hard in practice, or you rip him a new one after a game. Personally, the coach always takes the blame. Privately, you know what happens if you've ever played sports. I mean, you're going to get your an earful when you screw things up. But I think fans own college football. And again, I've said this, and I say it with force. The student athletes don't. You take the fans out, you have no games. We'll talk about it with Yancy Porter and Jimmy Hodge right after this.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Brown. Talk sporty to me.
All right, man. Yancy Porter, Rebel Yell Hotline LLC, Oxford, Monday nights, 6 p.m. all over Sports 56 WHBQ in Memphis, Super Talk, Mississippi. Got a lot of listeners. Rebel Nation on fire. Yancy, you're gonna have to come over and see us when we're doing Sidelines that morning. I don't know what time kickoff will be. If you're in timeout, which is what happens in the SEC, if you're struggling, it's the 11 a.m. game. Hopefully that'll be a 2:30 or a night game. I don't know about how much fun it is playing a night game in Oxford with Ole Miss. That's a tough place to play, but damn, Yancy, it's awesome. We're back in college football, and I'm looking at what Lane Kiffin is doing. Genius hire to bring him in. I mean, everything he says, he's got that E.F. Hutton effect. People listen, don't they?
Yeah, he's got Oxford and Ole Miss in his palm right now. I can't think of a more popular head coach at Ole Miss in my time. Obviously, when things were really rolling under freeze, he kind of had the same effect with the community here at Ole Miss. But Lane's got it going on.
Well, and you think about him growing up. We talk about people say when he was 3 and 4 years old, living up in Fayetteville, the family, when his dad was on the staff with Frank Royals, and it's just it gets in your blood, and you think about all the football knowledge, the football IQ that this guy has is off the charts. And my floor for Ole Miss this year is 8 wins. That's the minimum that they're going to get. Why are people, I know we're about out of time, but where is the narrative coming from? What's fueling the narrative? Obviously, Matt Corral's gone, got some new people, but is there possibility they may have better talent on the team this year and only win 8 or 9 games as opposed to 10 last year? I mean, I think that's where that's coming from. It's just that it's not as experienced.
No question. And look, I mean, everything's centered around quarterbacks, right? Not only in college, but in pro and high school, every level of football. Your quarterback's worth about 10 positions. So there's some nervousness around, because when you see a Lane Kiffin offense, you see a quarterback attempted almost 30 times a pass for 152 yards. That's not Lane Kiffin offense. So There's a lot of nervous, anxious moments right now. But look, they're going to get that together. I think Luke's going to play really good Saturday. I still think that you're going to see both quarterbacks up until that Kentucky game. They still got Georgia Tech. I mean, it's going to be a tough game, but they should still be able to pull that out the way they're playing now. And then you got Tulsa at home. They still got a little more time to figure this thing out. But like you said, the talent, I do think 185, it is better. Will they win 10 regular season games? We'll see.
Yeah. Yancy, look, again, tell people how they can follow you. We've run out of time for this segment, but great stuff as always. You always bring your A game, the pride of Mississippi.
Yeah, just go to @Yancy Porter for Twitter and @Yancy Porter on Facebook, or Rebel Yell LLC hotline, on Facebook. But more importantly, just every 6 to 7 on Mondays, listen to the Rebel Yell hotline on your local Super Talk or WHBQ station.
I love it, man. Yancy, again, thanks. Have a blessed day. Love having you on. Look forward to next week.
You too. Take care, Jimmy.
All right, Yancy.
All right, I'm gonna tell you what, Jimmy. You look at Jackson Dart, Luke Altmaier. Luke Altmaier is a guy that they started recruiting this kid so long ago. You can't base what you saw him do in the Sugar Bowl, or can you, if you're trying to get a sample size of what he can do, because he's had another spring. He's had a whole off season, the August practices and all. I'm just curious what you think will happen.
I think he'll be fine. I mean, when he came into that Tennessee game last year, when Corral was out for a series, he'd gotten banged up. I mean, he was flawless. I think they threw 3 passes in that series, and just looked really poised, really composed. And again, I think it carried on through spring practice. And again, we're yet to see what he looks like in a real game situation. So far, we'll find out on Saturday, but I agree with Yancy. I think he's going to have a really good game, and he's going to make it a difficult decision for Kiffin, because I think Kiffin all along has had Dart in his mind to be the number 1 guy. I mean,
I agree.
He basically, brought him in, and I don't know that it's as similar as Florida, where, Dan Mullen was just so obvious in his attempts to downplay the ceiling that Anthony Richardson possesses, because he'd spent 3 years trying to make Emory Jones prepare him to be an SEC quarterback. And, it just didn't work because he didn't have the basic passing skills. But this is a different situation because Dart does have those skills. But again, though, if you have problems reading defenses and so forth in the SEC, it's going to be a huge liability.
Well, and that's what happens. You hear this said a lot, and for people to put it in, I guess, the vernacular, paint a picture. When you first start, everything is going really fast. Once you begin to understand, to comprehend the playbook, what's going on, things slow down. And that's Jackson Dart is a guy that, again, he fits the Lane Kiffin profile for what he wants in a quarterback. And then you got a running back like Zach Evans and Quinshon Junkins. Again, he's right. Ole Miss has a long history, as does Mississippi State, as well as Southern Miss, of going into Alabama and getting kids that Auburn and Alabama don't get. But now you think Troy or UAB would be going after these kids, or South Alabama. There's about 150 Division I players a year coming out of the state of Alabama. Jimmy, we know it's it's the number 6 state in the country with 5.1 million people. Georgia, right next door with over 11 million, is number 4. Florida is number 3, and I think Texas is 1, California 2. And then you look at Ohio is number 5. Louisiana's number 7. Pennsylvania's number 8. Mississippi's number 9 with about 2.75 million people. Number 10, guess what it is? It's Illinois. Why haven't the Illini been relevant? I don't know what Brett Bielema will do with them, but man, I just think with Lane Kiffin there, if you're an Ole Miss fan, you ought to, at a minimum, expect to win 8 or 9 games a year, because he is recruiting out of the portal and out of high school at a really high level. And I think people criticize him so much because he left Tennessee after 1 year, or they think they know. I don't know how many of them have spent time talking to Nick Saban about what went on in his 3 years at Alabama. All I know from 35,000 feet above my view is they won 3 straight SEC championships with 3 different quarterbacks, and they went to the college football playoff 3 straight years and won a national championship and lost another one against Clemson on a last second play, a catch by Hunter Renfrow. So, get off of Kiffin's rear end. You don't like him. Why? Probably because you're jealous. Jimmy, you there? Okay.
Yeah, he's one of these lightning rod coaches.
Yeah.
You know, if he coaches your team and you're winning, you love him. And
Yeah.
if you're anybody else and you're playing against them and you're not beating him, you hate him. You know, because he's got this gunslinger style about him in interviews, and just like at SEC Media Days, he set the trend, not wearing a tie, and said, "Hey, you know, Commissioner Sankey, you mentioned to me a time or two that you wish you didn't have to wear a tie all the time. Well, I just set the precedent. Feel free to go ahead and loosen up." You know,
That was
and
funny.
then yeah, and then at the end of his remarks, he said basically, with NIL and so forth, what we do have is professional football or professional sports, which was true, especially in football. But again, the audience in the room, other than I guess the media, you know, were pretty nervous listening to those remarks. You know, so he's not afraid to say anything at any time. Right before the kickoff of the Alabama game last year, get your popcorn ready, you know, that type of thing. So, you know, he opens himself to, you know, a lot of targeting, let's say, from critics who, you know, like to jump on him, and they certainly took advantage of the opportunity after the Alabama game. But he bounces right up and just moves right along.
Yeah,
and I think, Brian Kelly is going to be one of those guys because, you know, last weekend, well, it's just 2 days ago, I guess.
Anwar's on,
Sunday night, that they lost a really tough one, but he, you know, he addressed it. Yeah, I mean, there were some, you know, players that, you know, didn't come through like they wished, but he also put himself and his coaching staff. He said that we're accountable. We need to coach better as a group. I need to coach better as a group.
Yeah.
And anytime you have your head coach that's willing to stand up and say, we've got to be better, then I think you really won over the fan base when you're not just criticizing your players and not your staff or you.
Jimmy, you're right. And Anwar Richardson is on with us now, orangebloods.com. Anwar, thanks for joining us on this Wednesday. A lot to talk about. And Jimmy, I agree with what you're saying. And everybody's got to be accountable. And Anwar, you got a big game this week, Saturday, 11 a.m. Fox Sports. It's going to be like a public grilling. It's going to be kind of hot out there. But, you know, one of the things I think fans at Florida found out that everybody in the South, we tend to think when a visiting team from another part of the country like Utah or Syracuse or Penn State comes south, that they've never seen heat before. And I mean, Alabama, it's hot in Alabama, it's hot in Texas. Kind of lay the groundwork, Jimmy and I and everybody listening and watching here on, you know, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, StreamYard and all. What's it like out there in Austin? Because Jill Klucher is going to join us here in a few minutes as well from Austin. She's with the Alabama alumni group out there. They got a lot of fans out there, and this is just a matchup of two of the great names in the history of college football that everybody is excited about.
It's a Fox Big Noon game. It's also ESPN Game Day will be out there. So this is kind of, you know, where all the eyes are going to be. I guess the eyes of Texas. You're right about the heat thing. It's hot. And if you're in the South, it's hot. Like, I mean, we just know it's hot. So there's no Southern advantage for anyone. Yeah. It may be Florida with the humidity just a little bit because, you know, that's a little bit, but it's hot as hot. I mean, we all been over 100 degrees for most of the summer. So, you know, I don't think Alabama's going to come in here and think to themselves, well, what do we do? How do we handle this kind of thing? Yeah, it's a challenge, a tough challenge, you know, depending on what lines you're looking at. I've seen Alabama by 20, you know, it was one of the lines I've seen 17.5, but, you know, most people are thinking this is probably 3 touchdowns by Bama. It's a tough task. It's a tough ask for Texas right now because you can't say, okay, this is the measuring stick of where you're going to be in the SEC. I mean, you can't compare yourself and your basketball skills against Michael Jordan, right? I mean, it's an unfair comparison, you know, at that point. So the best thing Texas can do is trying to find the little victories that that could be had. Keep it close, as possible. Don't get blown out. Don't make it look like Utah State, last year, but last week. But try to be as competitive as possible. But it's a tough ask. You're asking Texas to bring in a quarterback in his second start to go against Alabama. They've got 2 freshman offensive linemen who will be making their second start as well. You had a defense that struggled last season, and so you're trying to, Louisiana Monroe is one thing in a season opener. Yeah. Alabama is another thing. There's no real warm up, to really get into it. So it's a tough ask for a team that struggled last year. And then you got a Nick Saban team that, look, all those guys are still hungry. All those guys are motivated, and Nick Saban's not going to let his team come in here and overlook anyone. And Nick Saban's going to come in. Look, Texas is a recruiting ground for Alabama. So, they want to come in and also have a good performance in front of the guys that they are recruiting and wanting and desiring. And so, in this whole era, I'll wrap it up in this, my initial thoughts, but in this whole era of NIL, and the ability of Texas to get get guys through NIL, the same thing that Nick Saban was complaining about as far as Texas A&M is concerned. Yeah. If you're Alabama, you want to come in here and say, look, guys, not only we can get you NIL, but we're still the better team and we still have the better product.
Yeah, and I don't think with Texas, and Jimmy and I have talked about this a lot, it's already the benefits, even though they're still in the Big 12. Kids now are saying, well, I signed with Texas. I'm going to be playing most of my college career in the SEC. And that right there tells me, and you look at Arch Manning's commitment, that announcement, it's drawing a lot of kids to Texas. They have everything in the world that they need. What they need, you go back, and I'm sure it's been written about. You've probably written about it. Go back to the matchup, Texas and Alabama in the 2009 Rose Bowl. Marcel Darius hits Colt McCoy. It's a legitimate hit, but Texas has not. It was like they were emasculated. 11 of the last 12 seasons, they've lost 4 games or more. And you ask yourself, because I have Texas people in my family, and I just say, how can you not win at Texas? And you know what, Anwar? I think it can be too nice. I think, I don't know what it is. High school, I think Tommy Tuberville told us this a couple of years ago. His 3 years at Texas Tech after being at Auburn for 10 years. He said one of the things about the kids in Texas high school football, they're great kids, but high school football is so big out here. A lot of these kids get to college and it's like they don't have as much left as you'd think they would, because high school football in Texas is bigger than college or pro football. But Texas traditionally recruits in-state, but I think they're going to start branching out into the Southeast. That's what can scare you if you think about it, because once they get them down there, it's hard to leave.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things as you're talking that going to kind of come to mind. Anwar,
let me interrupt. I'm sorry. We're about to take a break. I don't want you to get started because
okay, go for it.
I want to hear your response, but again, I've been to Austin. And I know a lot of Alabama people that are going out there for this game. That is, and my friend Dave Cody was sports anchor out there for 36 years. That's an incredible place. Jimmy's lived out there. I just think SEC fans, get ready for what's coming after this quick break.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. It's easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Brown. Talk sporty to me.
Anwar, carry on. I know we had to take that quick break, and now we'll get for your answer. I do want to cut you off. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Hey, you got to pay the bills. So I totally understand that. I got sponsors as well. So I totally get that. Interrupt me at any point. There's a couple of things when you start talking about Austin and getting guys down there and recruiting and all these kind of things. So there's two things which is, I was starting to say that you and I are older at this point. So we remember VY, right? We remember Vince Young playing against USC and how dynamic and how amazing that game was. But that game was in 2005. And that was 17 years ago. That means an 18-year-old recruit was just a baby, if not born. A 17-year-old recruit was definitely not born at that time. And no matter what, there's no recollection of that game. 2009, you just mentioned, that's 13 years ago. 18-year-old recruit was 5 years old. Okay, so 17 is 4 years old. What do you remember from 5? What do you remember? What's your best sports memories from 5? That's the challenge that Texas faces, is that a lot of their glory is from a time period where most of these kids weren't born, or definitely if they were born, they don't remember. So, the Texas have been able to recruit, but they've got to be able to create new memories. They've got to be able to create stuff where kids are saying, like, this is the place to be. Now, look, it helps going into the SEC, because now all of a sudden, because all these kids are growing up looking at SEC football. That's what they know. That's where where their dreams and aspirations are, right, wrong, or indifferent. For them to want to go to the pros, they tell themselves the SEC is the place to be for that to occur. Well, now with Texas being in the SEC, now they've kind of eliminated that excuse as to, this is why I need to go to Bama or Georgia or, any of these other powerhouses. This is how you can get a kid like Arch Manning to come into Texas, because you can tell them, like, okay, you can come to Texas, be in Austin, but you also still get a chance to play in the SEC. It eliminates all that. So that portion is going to help them. Help from recruiting standpoint. Obviously, Austin is a booming city. It's a place everyone wants to be. But what at the end of the day, all the window dressing, all the everything, like, at some point, you still want the steak. You still want the sizzle. It's great to have all the sides. It's great to be in Austin. It's great to have the stadium. It's great to, have the South End Zone. It's great to have ESPN Game Day and Fox and all that kind of thing. The hoopla and make all the money that Texas has and all that kind of stuff. At some point, though, you got to put together the wins to be sustainable. And that's what Stark Keegan's task is.
Yeah. Anwar, and I'm going to throw this at you. It's like, to me, based on what you said and what I've been watching, is Texas is a bigger deal to their alumni, their fans, and the media who've covered college football for a long time than it is to the players. They've got to be convinced that Texas is a big deal and Texas football is relevant on the national scene. And the only way they're going to do that is to start winning. But I think you're right. I mean, you think about kids that have grown up and they don't remember all this. It's just like Tony Barnhart, Mr. College Football, said on the show a few weeks ago, kids down here in the South about Notre Dame, they're like, well, all they know is it's cold up there. And all they know is that since 1999, Notre Dame is 2-22 against top 5 teams. Okay. Yeah. You got to do better than that. But
think about Nebraska. We grew up on Tommy Osborne and how great that was. You can't tell a kid right now how great Nebraska is. They don't know anything about that. Tommy Frazier, none of that.
Yeah, and I mean, Anwar, you're right. And I'm gonna throw this to Jimmy. We love college football because of the history, the traditions, and the heroes. And you think about Earl Campbell. My God, who will, I mean, I still can remember that Monday Night Football game with Bum Phillips and the Houston Oilers and Earl Campbell. And again, tradition matters, but you've got to start getting those marquee wins. That's why this is a big game. And you're right, Nebraska, look at Southern Cal now. I mean, it's all cyclical, but the one thing about these SEC schools is they have not been through those long droughts. And Texas, boy, if Texas were to somehow get a win Saturday, the state may explode. Jimmy,
you talk about there's going to be a lot of babies. There's going to be a lot of babies named Steve popping up 9 months from now, if that's the case. Or a lot of Quins.
Yeah, Quins.
A lot of Quins that we're going to see years from now. Like, you remember, like, Jordan became a popular name after my MJ. That you'll see a lot of Quins popping up in Austin.
Yeah, and Franklin's Barbecue won't be able to feed the state of Texas. It wants.
Hell
Can
no.
Jimmy jump into this?
Bunch of Tito's going
Well,
too.
for a lot of these 4- and 5-star recruits, it's just as important for Texas to start developing players. Yeah, unless I'm mistaken, Texas didn't have a single player drafted in this past NFL draft, maybe one. And we've talked about the fact that when the Rockemeyer twins made the decision to go to Alabama, Blake, who was one of their great offensive linemen, played in the NFL a long time. Their dad, he just surmised that since Nick Saban had been at Alabama, they now, after 15 seasons, have produced somewhere in the neighborhood of 24 to 25 offensive linemen who have played in the NFL, and Texas has produced one. And with these recruits, you absolutely, in addition to winning, have to show that you're developing players that by the time they're through at Texas, whether it's after 3 years or 4 or 5, if you're in a redshirt situation, that if they're good enough, they're going to be NFL ready. And that is a big, big factor that I don't think it was with recruits 15 years ago.
No, you're right. You're right. It is now, like I said, Texas is recruiting well. I mean, depending on where you're looking at the rankings, I mean, they're recruiting well. They're adding in the bodies. They're getting those guys. And the good thing about, you guys know Sarkisian's record as a recruiter. He's pretty damn good. He was good at USC for the short time period he was there. He's been good at Texas. They've recruited great on the offensive line, great on the defensive line. That Arkansas game last year was kind of the eye opener that said, okay, they've got to get better and bigger in the trenches than they were. And so, they're adding that stuff in. And so, yeah, but, to your point, and I think when I look at Saturday's game against Bama, like I said, it's not a measuring stick kind of game, but it's more of, okay, this is the elite of the elite, creme de la creme. Okay, in order to get there, whether it's 2023, 2024, in order to be able to compete, what can you do? So, you have to have small victories. You can't get boat raced, right? You don't want to get embarrassed, at all. You want to be able to display what you do well with the Bijan Robinsons of the world and Xavier Worthies of the world. You want to see if you can slow down these guys. And then you got a young quarterback with Quinn Ewers. You're just going to have to let it rip and just say, man, just go for it. Do what you can. And then you said, if you're Texas, you got to tell yourself, hey, Texas A&M was able to pull it off last year, and nothing's impossible in college football is what you got to tell yourself.
Another one for you.
Yeah, all you had to do is watch last weekend. But I just wanted to, agree certainly with the fact that they're recruiting really well, and Kyle Flood is a great offensive line coach. And Jeff Banks is an excellent recruiter, not to mention Sark. And I mean, that 2020 Alabama offense was as well-coached a unit as we've seen in college football. So definitely, when they bring in the players that they know they have to win at the SEC level, they're certainly going to have the talent in my mind. And I think they also have a great selling point by the fact that by getting Arch, I'm sure one of their big selling points was with the tradition that Texas has, that, they're telling these elite recruits that, hey, you guys have a chance to be revered for the rest of your lives as the group that was able to turn Texas around and make them a perennial championship contender. And if you're able to do that, man, I'm telling you what, once you start winning with those caliber of players, then you're going to have a steady drumbeat as far as being able to get all kinds of great players to come into your program. So I think it's really an exciting time for Texas fans. They just have to take advantage of every Saturday, just trying to get as good as they can be, and during the week, just as important. They have to prepare, because they're not good enough to where they can just line up against anybody and say, hey, we're Texas. You're supposed to lay down for us. No, they got to go out there and, play every play like the game's on the line. And then by the end of the season, if you're able to do that and you're bringing in quality players, you're going to see Texas teams that are much better by the end of the year than they were on opening day.
Yeah. And Anwar, we're going to bring Jill Klucher on here in a minute. She's with the Alabama alumni group out in Austin. Been out there for a while, and I met her through my friend Dave Cody, who's been sports anchor out there, retired last year for a long time. But just kind of interesting. Jill, welcome to Sidelines. Appreciate you taking time to join us on this Wednesday. Big game this weekend. And Anwar, you're making great points about Texas, and I'm getting a lot of people are sending me texts during this broadcast about Texas doesn't need to get blown out. They just need to be competitive and remain relevant. Jill, how big a deal is this for you as an Alabama alumnus living in Austin, deep in the heart of Texas, where everything around you is burnt orange, the Texas Longhorn Nation? How many Bama fans are coming out there? And Anwar, we're going to open this up, kind of have some fun if you can stay with us. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Jill, what about it? How excited are you? I know everybody's going to say, well, the barbecue here is better than back home in Alabama. Alabama fans are coming from all over the planet.
Yes, they are. And we're so excited. I have to kind of say I bought tickets to Texas Longhorns just for something to do back in 92. And boy, was that a good investment, because I have seats for the game and they're in a good spot.
You were a deep discount value investor, but
yes, I was long term.
Yeah. Well,
I think there will be a lot of fans out on Saturday for Alabama. I think they're coming in from all over the state. They're really excited to see Alabama play home-to-home matchup with Texas, especially after there was a little game several years ago that got a lot of Texas fans riled up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Anwar, jump in here with us, because that's the thing about it. You got two marquee names, two of the 5 or 6 winningest programs in the history of college football. Anytime you do that, there's going to be a lot of eyeballs on watching TV, and the place will be packed, but there'll probably be 50,000 people outside the stadium just tailgating and hanging around drinking road sodas.
I mean, it's definitely going to be a fun environment, I would definitely say, because I think there's a lot of respect that Texas has for Bama. I think there's a lot of respect that Steve Sarkisian has for Nick Saban as a person who worked underneath him. There's a lot of respect that Kyle Flood obviously has, and Jeff Banks has for Saban and that entire staff. And I think there's a lot of respect from Texas fans just for the program that Alabama has established, the success that they've had. At one point, Texas tried to get Nick Saban several years ago, and that did not work. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of respect that's there. It's a good, it's a great team that's coming in here. And I think Texas fans, I don't think, are drinking the Kool-Aid as far as what their chances are. But to your point, what your Texans are saying, just try to keep it close, try to keep it competitive, and be able to see one of the, the best teams, and be able to see the GOAT in person. I think it's a great thing for Texas.
Yeah, Jill, when you think about this, and I think, Anwar, you'll see this. I mean, look, you're from Florida, you're from Lakeland, you know the South and the culture of these fans down here. I think, yeah, I don't go around saying I hate this school or that school. I love my school. I'm an Auburn grad, but I respect these other schools, because it wouldn't mean a damn thing to beat a team that's 3-8 or 1-10. There would be no Iron Bowl. If you're an Auburn fan or Alabama fan and you want the other one to lose every game, well, then what does it mean? You have no rivalry. And that's what you'll see. And the other thing is the fan bases, the proximity of the contiguous geographical footprint. Jill, you know this. We all go to each other's stadiums, and that's what makes it so much fun. And we've got friends everywhere. So, again, for you, this is a huge opportunity. But now, in just I don't know how soon it's going to be. It's going to be an annual or every other year deal. I mean, Alabama will be coming out there, and Texas will be going to Tuscaloosa. I mean, you can't ask for too much more, can you?
No, and I'm pretty excited about that. When I moved to Austin, it was the Southwest Conference. So we got to watch Arkansas every now and then play at DKR. But over the years, we've put a lot of miles on the car going out to Tuscaloosa or College Station when they joined the SEC. So it is a lot different environment to get to go to somebody's home turf and play a good game of football. And of course, every Alabama fan would prefer a good game as opposed to a blowout, because it's just more fun. I mean, there's more energy in the stands. There's more cheering. It is just a great feeling to be at a college football game on a Saturday and enjoying, as you said, roadside cocktails.
Yeah. I mean, listen, Austin, 6th Street, there's a lot more to Austin than 6th Street. And Jimmy, you've been there to games before, and Anwar and Jill, y'all live out there. You see it every day. But Jimmy, I know you got some questions for Jill or Anwar.
Yeah, well, I can say the great thing too about going to a Texas game. During my days at Adidas, we had Houston, and I was big buddies with the equipment manager at Houston, and so he set me up. I lived right outside of Austin, and me and my wife we went to see them play Rice, and Texas pretty much had their way. But on the way to the game earlier, it was an early evening game, and a guy said, "Hey man, I don't know if you've heard, but Johnny Winter's playing on 6th Street tonight." And I went, "What?"
Wow.
And so you get some of these legendary musicians that can just kind of pop up out of nowhere, and certainly in football season, there's a good chance you're going to find some elite musical entertainment afterwards. And it being an 11 o'clock game, I mean, it'll be over by 2:30, 3 o'clock. And so, there'll be a lot of things going on afterwards, if you want some, entertainment after the game. But hey, Anwar, I don't know how much room there is to tailgate on the 40 acres there. I think you might just kind of hang out at 6th Street and just drift on over. How does that work?
You can stumble on over if you want to. You want to go that route. There's definitely enough. There's a lot of good things around the stadium. Over the last couple of years, they've implemented a midway where they have like rides and carnival kind of things that are out there. They have Beaver Boulevard. It also has a lot of things. So, and it has some entertainment as well. So there's plenty of drinking spots.
Yeah. Everybody, hold on, Jill. We got time. I know you got to go. We're going to come back with another question for you right after this.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Brown. Talk sporty to me.
Right, Jill Klucher, tell people right now, we got a lot. We're down on Kicks 96.3, Alexander City, Central Alabama, Lake Martin area, over on 680 in Atlanta, and all over www.sidelines.live. A lot of Bama fans heading out there. Where are the meeting places? Y'all gonna? I'm certainly sure you're gonna have some sort of a big party, a barbecue, or something, pep rally before that game.
Yes, we are. We're the home base here in Austin for the Alumni Association is Buford's, which is downtown on 6th Street at Nueces. It's on West 6th Street. It's one of the larger bars in Austin. They're full service, and there's a tailgate party on Friday night with a silent auction and live music. And then, of course, game day Saturday, it will be hopping because a lot of local Longhorn fans also like to go to Buford's to watch the game. So it should be, I would say, a good option if you're not able to get into the stadium.
Yeah. Look, I know you got to get going to a meeting or whatever like that, but just wanted to get the perspective. There are going to be a lot of people in Austin. It's going to be kind of the eyes of the nation on there. Just, again, these two names, but give me a prediction on the score.
Oh,
7-6.
I hope it is a good game, and I would like a close but not dangerously close score. A good 36-24 Bama win.
That's almost identical to the national championship game in 2009. I think it was like 37-24, something like
Something
that.
like that. Yeah. It was a good game.
All right. Look, we'll hold you to it. Jill Klucher, thank you so much for taking time to join us. Really appreciate it. Have a great day.
Thank you. Have a good
All
day.
right. Okay. Tell you what, Jimmy, it's going to be a lot of fun. And again, Texas, as they play this schedule, this is one SEC game. And I don't think you can judge Texas's future on what happens Saturday, but they do just for this year. They're in the Big 12 for their own mental health. They need to play just their best game. You never know what's going to happen. I mean, if they knew Alabama was going to win, they wouldn't play the game. We all know that sounds really, cliche-ish, but I mean, that's what we look for. And that's the great thing about college football. And you're right. And Johnny Winter, Gordon absolutely loves Johnny Winter, anything that he plays. And again, I think SEC fans, when you start going out to Austin for the Texas games in whatever sport, you're going to get introduced. It's one of the neatest towns. Everybody's seen Austin City Limits. I think Willie Nelson will be playing until he's 100 out there. But it's a powerful city. And the state of Texas, it's so hard to believe as big as college football is and as big as the Cowboys are. High school football is bigger. Yet other schools like Alabama and Georgia, and Auburn's got several Texas kids, Tennessee, LSU, they consider Texas over to the Houston metro area part of Louisiana, Jimmy. That's what's going to be so much fun. In Oklahoma, you got about 5 million people out there. People don't recruit Oklahoma as heavily. Oklahoma State pretty much get every player out there. But all right, Jimmy, got to switch gears now. The college football playoffs. We haven't really talked about this. I mean, I've been advocating a 12-team playoff. I'm excited about it. And you start seeing people now coming out and saying it's the end of college football as we know it. It's going to make it like the pros. It's going to water down the season. I don't believe that. The thing that makes college so special is it is so personal. No one likes to be turned down when they ask someone out on a date. College football fans are like someone asking someone out on a date. Whether it's a man asking a woman asking a man, doesn't matter. It's personal. I don't know. It's just not like that in the NFL. It's different. And that's why I think college football, I don't buy these apocalyptic predictions that college football is ruined. I think, in fact, in November, the teams in the top 25, all of them are going in thinking, hey, we got a chance to make the college football playoff. And I think it's going to create more interest around the country. And in terms of the bogus as a $3 bill or a football bat, that's the alliance that was formed last year in reaction to OU and Texas joining the SEC. That bogus alliance between the ACC, the Big Ten, and the Pac-12, even more bogus, let's call it a double bogus, when the Big Ten took Southern Cal and UCLA into their market. Now, I'm sure everybody's seen the pictures. The Big Ten is so excited to have the LA market of TV sets for Southern Cal and UCLA. Did you see the crowd or lack thereof at the UCLA game last Saturday? Please tell me that wasn't a real picture, that it was doctored or whatever. That's sad. I mean, there are more people outside the locker room after a game than that.
Yeah, UCLA claimed that they had 24,000 in attendance, but I think it was more like 24,000 tickets were sold.
Yeah.
But I love the camera angle that was taken, because from where that shot was taken from, it looked like there wasn't more than maybe 500 people there. I mean, it was embarrassing. And again, though, it's just different out there. There are a lot of other things to do, and unless it's UCLA, USC, or nowadays, when Notre Dame comes out, it's just, you just don't draw huge crowds to a 100,000 seat venue like the Rose Bowl or the Coliseum that I guess used to seat around 90. I think they've scaled it down over the years, but it's just kind of different. And I think that was another big reason that you saw USC and UCLA bolt, because Larry Scott had made a lot of mistakes in regard to how the Pac-12 network was being, I think, marketed from a TV standpoint. He had all kinds of crazy ideas about games starting at 9, 10 o'clock Pacific time in the morning. And then you had the late night Pac-12, which, fans on the Eastern time zone, most of them, no way they could stay up and watch those games. So there was just a lot of dissatisfaction. And I think the presidents at USC and UCLA just decided, Kliavkoff, I mean, I think he's got some really good ideas, but right now, we've got an opportunity to make this move. Let's go ahead and do it. And then just financially, it's going to be a great move for all of those guys. And again, everything, though, still depends on what Notre Dame's going to do. Are they going to remain independent? If NBC jumps that offer up to, $70-75 million a year, I think they will remain independent. If they don't, then I think it's a Big Ten SEC struggle there for Notre Dame. And then depending on what Notre Dame does, then I think that's Big Ten proceeds. If Notre Dame decides to stay independent, or if they went to the SEC, then they grab those Pac-12 schools and form a Pacific division of the Big Ten.
Yeah, Jimmy, your phone's going in and out. I don't know what that is with your volume, but anyway, follow Anwar Richardson. Check him out, orangebloods.com, Twitter handle at Anwar Richardson, ANWARRICHARDSON. Love having him on. Knows his Texas football, knows what's going on out there. He's shooting straight. I mean, he's not predicting some win just because they're at home, but also love having Jill Klucher on. Alabama fans, there are going to be a lot of you out there in Austin. But I think, Jimmy, you're right. I mean, I think Francis told us back in that 1983, it was a 5-year deal, $50 million NBC did to carry Notre Dame games. Notre Dame, if they stay an independent, I think it's at their own peril. And they're 2-22 in top 5 matchups since 1999. I mean, if you can't see that, that's a problem. And they're not, they've got to win those big games. But going into the Big Ten, I mean, I think they've been invited to the Big Ten 3 or 4 times before. And, there's something that happened 7,500 years ago between them. I don't know all the details on it, but Notre Dame, SEC, Big Ten, ACC, we'll see. Big 12, going to be interesting to see if the Big 12 makes a move on Arizona and Arizona State. Again, I keep saying this. I go back to it. They are likely going to be the beneficiaries of the expansion on the East and the Western coasts, and things just falling in their lap. I mean, last year, and I'm telling you right now, don't underestimate Cincinnati. That's Ohio State light. Okay. And BYU with the whole Mormon nation, 15 million plus. They got their own channel. They've got a huge global fan base, right? Central Florida. Okay. That the bounce house, there's just a lot of people in Florida, but it will open up some recruiting doors to that league. And then Houston. a ginormous market. But Houston, like UCLA, doesn't draw much. 20, 25,000 at football games, if that much. And so I still believe I'm not a fan of just having two big conferences and to hell with everybody else, but I do think it's very likely we're going to see those top 5 conferences have their own national championship eventually, and then everybody else have another national championship race. That's probably where we're going. Or we could even go have the national champion of the Big 5 play the national champion of the Group of 5. That's a possibility, Jimmy. I know that sounds crazy, but it'd be like the old days. Remember, they used to have an all-star game in football, the pros against the college all-stars. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah, but it wasn't interesting for those pro teams that it was their first game and they lost a key player. They were done for the season. That was a nice idea, but that basically fizzled out. But as far as the idea of the top tier of the BCS playing the remainder of the schools, which would be 65 and 65. There's just no way that's going to happen, I don't think, because the powers that be aren't going to allow these teams to play 16, 17 games. And I don't think the regular season's going anywhere as far as number of games being reduced, because that's just guaranteed revenue
for the towns.
And they're not going to give that away. But I do think the expansion to 12 teams in the playoff is a great idea, because all these other conferences have been whining about lack of inclusion over all these years. Now you get it, and then you still got people whining about something,
Oh yeah.
And
the whiner nation.
But I do think, I think it's critical though to have more teams involved, and the way they have it set up, I think, is just right. The top 4 seeds get a bye because they've earned it, and then you have the top 6 conference champions as far as ranking goes, and then you have 6 at-large spots, and no conference is guaranteed any of those at-large spots. It's just the best 12 teams, and I think that's the way it should be. And of course, that's what the Big Ten had kind of been afraid of all along before they cut this TV deal, was that there might be a year where the Big Ten champion wasn't one of the top 10 ranked. One of the top 6 ranked conference champions if they sprung an upset in the championship game.
Correct.
And now they decided, now that they got that big money deal, that it's okay. And that alliance thing, that was just kind of a dalliance. That's all, And as soon as we swiped USC and UCLA, see you later, Pac-12. So it was that was just a diversion more than anything else, and also just a way for the Big Ten and ACC and Pac-12 to know how livid they were about the fact that Texas and Oklahoma wanted to join the SEC. But I do think it will be a great change, and you're going to have a lot more fan bases, a lot more football teams, a lot more coaching staffs. Really excited, because they do know now that there is a realistic chance that they can be part of this college football playoff race.
I agree. And I think too, lost in all of this, it's not talked about enough, is the likelihood that you're going to have a lot of these in a 12-team playoff, a lot of the games played on the college campuses. That is huge. And that right there makes it more, to me, palatable, because the cost of having to travel all over the country to go to these playoff games it's absurd. And so if your team, you should be rewarded if your team is that good to play your college football playoff game on your campus. You can't be punishing people like this year. If Georgia and Alabama end up in a rematch of the national championship, they've got to go across the country and play in the Rose Bowl. Okay, the Rose Bowl, it's a wonderful place. They're shrinking it. San Gabriel Mountains are beautiful and all that, but why not play the game in Atlanta? Now, It doesn't work that way. I understand that. But that if you had, though, if they don't do the home and home, let these top 4 or top 6, whatever, play their games at home, they're making a huge mistake. Okay. Hey, look, about out of time. We'll be back with you tomorrow. Got another great show lined up. Sidelines here every Monday through Saturday. Check us out, www.sidelines.live, on Twitter @sidelines_live. Go out and help somebody with the expectation of getting nothing in return. Don't give to get. Give to give out of the goodness of your heart. Most often see the face of Christ in the least among us. And folks, college football season's underway. Don't be ready to fire your coaches after the first weekend. Give them a few weeks before you get that crazy. But this has been a great show today. Started off Dave Schultz, Yancy, Porter, Anwar, Richardson, Jill Klucher. Strong Texas flavor on this show. But again, tomorrow we'll start off with Dudley Dawson, the Razorback Report, ECS House Industries. Gary Harris from WVUA TV 23 in Tuscaloosa will be on with us tomorrow. Be checking in with Bo Carter from out in Big 12 country. Lots to talk about. College football season, again, it is early, folks. Long way to go. This is a 12-chapter book. Most people have just read one chapter. Don't skip ahead. We're out of here. See you tomorrow. Have a great one.